Hey guys, real quick before this video starts, I just want to say sorry that this took so long. When the creator of Furraffinity died, it already dampened my progress and motivation, but when it got hacked, that just genuinely messed up my upload schedule. So in this video, I'm going to be covering a lot of the topics that I failed to in the previous videos. Also, I have a poll up on Patreon about game over concepts. If you would like to go there and vote, you are welcome to. It is public. I also have 3 sample animations for cutscenes and the quality they will be at. You can access those on Furraffinity, but just a heads up, they are NSFW. So let's get right into it. Oh, and before I forget, thanks so much for you guys' support. It really has helped me out a lot. Now let's get right into the video. What's up guys, KobaltKai here. Welcome back to my development log of Kaiju Chronicles. First thing I have to say is, sorry it took so long. So, this isn't going to be my normal kind of video. Typically I do it inside of the game itself if I'm developing it. But in this case, I actually decided to take a step back. A while back, Furraffinity's creator died, and basically the entire site got DNS server shifted, so it would go to a completely different website that actually didn't launch the hack, even though they could have hacked Furraffinity if they wanted to, but it wasn't them. So for a brief moment, it was both furries and people just like hating on this one individual person who supposedly lost $300,000 for it. But I decided to say to myself, okay, I'm going to take a step back from this and essentially make more monsters, because at that point what I had done is I had basically designed the drafts for more characters, but I hadn't actually gone through with fully designing all of the characters. So I decided essentially, okay, I'm going to make more characters like this, get more pixelated if I have to, especially bigger characters. But what I also decided is that I'm going to start making the enemy characters. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys, this is actually inspired by Cell, to be honest, or Cell Max, but I designed a full-blown dragon to be a playable character, and if it goes well, hopefully I'll be able to actually put this guy in-game, because this design, this is actually one of the most complicated character designs. I had to learn how to draw a dragon as I made this. It's actually pretty interesting. You have to draw the lines first and then you go over the scales over each part individually, but I figured out a few shortcuts on how to animate that so that it's still lively enough. So before I continue, I do want to say thank you for the suggestions of having a synth character added to the game. I have now added one synth, not only one, but actually 2 different synth characters with different designs. They will probably be in the late stage of the game or special unlockables, but I'll have to get to that later. As for now, these are all of the different main character designs that I have been adjusting and essentially creating over time. So, funny story about why I also took so long to get this updated. The more and more time that I spent developing the game, the bigger and bigger the scope of the game got. And I don't mean like the final scope, more so like the scope that I'm actually wanting to show you guys at the beginning, because I don't know if I told you guys this, but this game has been in, well, the concepts that I've been thinking of behind this game, I've actually been working on them for about maybe 7 years or so. They were fun little ideas that I started off with in college, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, I might one day get to where I decide to create a game or something with these concepts, so I'm just going to keep them all here, just like in the sketchbook or whatever, just in case. This is a sick griffin design that that I made, by the way. If I sound sick, it's actually because I just woke up, but I wanted to get this recorded as fast as possible because it's been almost a full-on month. But essentially, I'm going to go over the different character types that I've currently designed at this point. What you guys are looking at right now, I call these guys the sci-fi and furries. They're essentially humans that had been fully turned into animals because essentially pollution got super messed up and there was almost no way to actually fix it on the planet. I'm going to probably get more into the story later on, but for the time being, these are the other types of enemy. Well, these are the enemy character designs, and yes, I based them fully off of Pokemon. So, to be frank, this guy is fully based off of Bulbasaur, but not Bulbasaur. So I'm going to take this, and what I've essentially been doing is like going side by side with these, and with each Pokemon design, I just make sure to say, okay, I like this Pokemon design, but I want to be original. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is different and unique. This is Pikachu, by the way. So, essentially, I've been going through each one like this, and what I've done is essentially reconceptualize the original idea of the Pokemon, but put my own spin on it as well. So this is actually Venusaur itself, and this is what Venusaur was here. Well, this is not Venusaur actually. I'm going to have to figure out the names for each of these guys because I created them so quickly, but all of the sprites that you're looking at are actually prototype sprites that I've been designing. This guy was actually based off of both Charmander and Gabumon from Digimon, so a little bit of a hybrid. But the thing about Sci-Fians is that in concept, in the game itself, as in the game lore, not in the process of me actually making them in Krita, they're originally conceptualized as being like AI monsters that were essentially created to replace animals that were driven to extinction. So they're designed to give a little bit of an Easter egg or a homage to the different kinds of characters that inspired them, but at the same time, they're dramatically different. You see, Sci-Fians, I'm not designing them to be cute, plushy, marketable animals. These things are actual legitimate monsters. The thing about Sci-Fians is that they're designed with not only with the inspiration of Pokemon behind them, but also with like the intelligence of humans behind them. So each one of these animals in game comes to the realization that they are essentially a fake version of copyrighted material that someone else is comparing them to. So, I'm not really going for the cute, fluffy side of it, but each Sci-Fian in and of themselves is technically a character that discovers that they are not the original, and they can never be the original. And that's the reason why people essentially don't like them, because they're basically like called Fakemon in-game, and that upsets them. So it's like, they don't say their name or anything. But if you say, oh, that looks like this Pokemon, or that looks like that Digimon or something, of course, it can't be said in-game they look like that, so I just be like, oh, that looks like it's from this popular game or that game. The Sci-Fian is very likely, probably, going to want to kill that person, and I'm not making that up. Because to them, their entire identity is based around a cute, plushy, marketable animal that they're told they look nothing like. And I want to use that primarily for character development, but also for some comedic interactions, because like, oh yeah, this design. I always wanted to know like what it was like to see a sentient Pokemon that's able to talk, but oh my gosh, how did I get from this design to this? Oh my gosh. I always wanted to know what it was like to go from a sentient Pokemon to like this, essentially. So, for each Pokemon, I'm not like copying them verbatim, not even close. Again, these are inspired. I'm actually using these as prototype starter designs. So these are all like more like wild animals that you'd be encountering more than monsters. But for the time being, yeah, this is essentially what I've been up to as of late. designed a full-on pelican because it turns out pelicans are monsters in real life and eat whatever they feel like. But to cut to the chase, I'm going to reduce this opacity to 50 and show you guys. It's easier if I just describe it like this: based off of Ekans, based off of Survivor. And for the most part, this is probably the only Pikachu homage that I'm actually making. I decided to make its body like its tail basically iron. Cat might be like outside my door wanting my attention. Okay. But essentially, how many of these have I built? Let's say I've built, let's just stop it at 30. Yeah, let's just say that I only made 30 of these. Totally not any more than this for the time being. Possibly, maybe. 30 that are definitely defined as going in-game. And that's essentially it. Like, I used a very large Pokemon reference, because what I want to do, I don't want to like mix up the Pokemon, but essentially the reason why the designs might be coming off as basic right now is because these are the starter enemy designs. These are the enemies that you would be meeting at the very start of the game, essentially. So they have to be like simple. They have to not feel like, if I just design a monster that walks up to you with a machine gun and predictive AI movement, that's not going to be fun for anyone. If I design a monster that's able to like shoot you through walls or something, or target you from the sky without you seeing them, that's not fun for anyone. So like, what I want to do is I just want to like start off small, and for proper reference, these enemies, I'm just going to copy one and go over here. These enemies are essentially way smaller. Like, the Pokemon themselves that I've actually been using to study sprites and figure out how to draw sprites from, in some cases, they're way smaller than even a lot of the characters themselves. So that just puts into scale just how large some of these kaiju actually are, for the most part. Like, Bobro can't escape this. But yeah, this is essentially how far things are currently with this. But I also have a third tier. So these are the humans turned into kaiju. These are the animals that are developed from AI concepts of what kaiju should be, or what animals should be able to fill like natural niches that were originally made extinct. So they're like unextincted animals. But these are Digimon inspired enemies, essentially. So you're looking at right now are essentially super beast. They are super powered heroes that were essentially turned into monsters, either willingly or unwillingly by virus exposure. And currently, a lot of these are the simple, or rather the starter super beasts. So you're looking at monsters that don't have machine guns attached to them or anything. You're not going to run into like Gundramon or anything starting off, but this guy was essentially inspired from Gabumon himself. And what I plan to do is I plan to have these as like special characters, or actually as boss enemies. So if I actually go right here, this is actually the sprite for, yeah, this is the sprite for the character size in-game that you're playing as versus the size of these boss characters. So your character, if you're lucky or if you find them, might not even be half the size of the enemy that you're fighting. So good luck if your character just straight up gets eaten by this, because it's probably going to be stuck inside of their belly for a long time if you lose. Not even kidding about that. But anyway, currently I have a poll that I am actually making on Patreon of what kind of enemies you'd like to see next, or actually what kind of game overs. So I'm not quite at the point where I'm open to suggestions of the enemies themselves that can be made, but the game overs that you can experience, or the kinds of losing outcomes, because the game's probably going to be hard, but I want losing to be just as much fun as playing, because games like this typically aren't made for the furry community. Essentially, furry games, they're essentially like dating simulators where you run around finding all the options of characters that you can date. But in this case, I want to make a game, and then I want to make the game furry as well. I want to make the game furry enough as well. So, essentially, let me know what you guys want to see in the comments down below, because I plan to continue like using some of these Pokemon as inspirations, especially Arcanine, because I designed a concept for this guy in college that actually looks much different from Arcanine, well, as a Pokemon in general. But I do want to say this just for future reference. None of these Pokemon are designed to, well, none of these sci-fians, excuse me, are designed to be like copyright infringement of Pokemon's intellectual property. Every single one of them is designed to be their own separate thing in their own separate dimension. They're not even supposed to be like marketable, essentially. They're actual monsters. So, to reiterate the size of this so that you guys fully understand why I'm saying that, in-game, oh yeah, I was also designing some characters right here, but in-game, monsters like this one, which was actually inspired by Lugia, monsters like this one inspired by Stitch, they are fully the size of one human. I'm gonna copy this human right here, and I'm just going to paste the size of this human right here. So this is the size of a 10-foot superhuman. What this guy is, this is a futuristic Baron, essentially. Super powered by DNA, designed to be like 10 feet tall. Average human might be about this tall in game. This guy is actually a Baron designed specifically for the purpose of dealing with monsters like this. He's got superpowers and probably the ability to teleport. Probably a lot of forgiving mechanics when I develop him when I release him in game. But this character, he's like almost not even as big as the heads of these monsters. So yeah, just for proper reference about that, and for the sci-fians, his size is, let's see, the size of the average 10-foot human compared to this is about this tall. So if we were comparing a Pokemon to the size of this human compared to this not Pikachu, this would be like comparing the size of Venusaur itself to a trainer, and Pokemon trainers themselves are about maybe 3-4 feet tall, because, you know, they're kids, they're just kids, so they're like 3 to 4 feet tall or so. I'd be very concerned if I saw Game Freak was making 5-foot Pokemon trainers that are just kids and whatnot. But essentially, this is the actual size of these things. Huh, it actually does look like it's Venusaur size. Anyway, yeah, these are the enemies primarily. Let me know what you want to see next in the comments down below. Good luck fighting these. And Steven Universe inspired, but these are some of the other monster designs that I have planned. So, good luck with that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, or go to my Patreon and comment on the poll that I have of what enemies. Essentially, I'm just stretching the video length out at this point because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything, but I think that covers it, and I will see you guys later. Bye.